Dun ta da, dun ta da. Just two hoes watching shows. All right. Until I find something better. Okay, that's what it's gonna be. I am Jessie.
And hi, I'm Ariel.
And we are
Two hoes
watching shows.
That's right. So we're back this week. Jessie, what are we watching?
So we are actually going to be tearing apart Netflix's American Murder, Gabby Petito, which is a pretty long case. It was like a 3-part series, so it wasn't too bad. You could definitely binge it over the weekend. And it's basically about the Gabby Petito case.
Which you guys probably have heard this story. It went very viral when this all happened back in 2021. And there already has been a previous documentary on it, but we are just regrouping on the new one that is on Netflix that came out in 2025.
Yeah. So I'm going to just read a little synopsis, and then we can start tearing it up.
Diving in.
All right, so Gabrielle Petito was a 22-year-old traveling blogger who traveled all over the U.S. with her boyfriend, Brian Laundrie. They blogged about their day-to-day life living in Gabby's van. Brian and Gabby wanted to travel through the U.S. during the summer of 2021. According to Wikipedia.com, the trip they both planned was to last 4 months. They started off on their journey July 2nd of 2021. However, Gabby went missing on August 2nd of 2021. Later, Gabby's remains were eventually found in September 19th. They were found after a comprehensive search of the Bridger-Teton National Forest in Wyoming. According to Wikipedia, the autopsy report found that she was killed by blunt force injuries to her head, neck, and manual strangulation. Meanwhile, Brian had driven Gabby's van back to Brian's parents' house in Florida. Brian and his family refused to cooperate with law enforcement, particularly where Gabby was and her whereabouts. According to family, Brian left the parents' residence on September 13th, and they reported him missing 4 days after that. Skeletal remains were then found in the Myakkahatchee Creek Environmental Park on October 20th, and it was confirmed via autopsy that the remains were Brian's and that he was killed by a self-inflicted gunshot wound to the head. A tragic ending to what was supposed to be an adventure between two vibrant young adults. On the outside, Gabby looked happy and playful while blogging, but as you watch this documentary, you realize there was a darkness Gabby was hiding from the world and her family, a darkness that was surrounding Brian Laundrie. Yeah, so that is a mouthful.
Yeah, so I feel like, Jess, we should just jump right into, first episode, which really starts off on how these two met, and kind of, pre-trip, right?
Yeah, they definitely kind of go into who Gabby was. Gabby was artistic little girl. She was fun and happy. Her mom and dad had her very young. I think her mom was 19 years old when she had her.
Yep.
And the mom and dad basically split when she was 6 months old. So, but then they remarried, so she actually has two different families. She has her dad's family and her mom's family, and they both remarried, so she calls them both mom and dad.
Right, so it's two separate sets of parents.
Yeah, blended family.
So these two met in high school in Long Island, and they were kind of in the same friend group. Mm-hmm. And then the mom just basically explains they were really super friends. And she kept asking, are you guys dating? And she was like, no, we're just friends. And then all of a sudden one day she was like, I'm going to move to Florida. And then the mom said, oh, so you are dating Brian? She said, yeah, we're together. Mm-hmm. And then the next day left for Florida, where Brian's parents had already moved. North Point, Florida.
Yeah. Okay, so that was, I was trying to figure that out. So they lived in New York
Yes.
while he was in high school, and then they eventually moved to Florida.
Yes.
Got it.
But the weird thing is, though, like, there's a girl that's on this documentary who talks about, like, she was Brian's friend, and then, so Brian was, like, staying on their couch.
Yeah.
And then she was like, oh, well, you know, if you're basically going to sleep here every night, like, we have an extra bedroom. And then Brian moved in. And then all of a sudden Brian was like, I'm leaving. I'm going to my parents in Florida.
Yeah. And then taking Gabby with her.
And then Gabby went.
Yeah. Which is, like, weird. I just feel like as a mom, like, you're going to literally be like, okay, so you are dating him, and now you're going to go and move with him. And she's like, yes.
Right. So, like, none of this to me obviously screams beginning, like, killer. But at the same time, I don't know, she is very young. Obviously, like, very, like, she seems very close with, like, both sets of, like, her parents. But then how do you not tell your mom and then say, I'm moving to Florida, and then the next morning you just happen to leave?
Yeah. I think she was just a free spirit, honestly. Like, I just feel like she's like, you know, nothing's going to hold her back. So she ended up moving in with Brian's parents in 2019. And I have some notes about Brian's mom. They weren't getting along like a good old mother-in-law, so to speak. Like, so they were interviewing Gabby's mom, and Gabby's mom was like, sometimes that Brian's mom would be mean to her, and like she'd call her up and just be like, yeah, she was just upset today, and she basically was mad that Brian was hanging out with Gabby more than he was hanging out with her. Weird.
Yeah, that's weird.
Yeah, definitely like mommy dearest kind of weirdo vibes there.
But are you, like, they also so much reference in, like, the first episode of this documentary that, like, Brian definitely had, like, control issues. And I feel like you see that a lot with his text messages. Like, she ends up getting a job at Taco Bell, and then he's texting her, like, telling her, oh, like, you're you know, like, I don't want you hanging out with these lowlifes. So it's like she just left everything she knew in New York and went to Florida. But I feel like he was trying to isolate her. Like, she couldn't make friends. And, like, the friends she did make, he was telling her, you know, you're a loser for hanging out with them. And, like, when are you coming home? Then he's texting her, like, I'm crying because you don't care about how I feel. Like, it was very dramatic of him.
Oh, he was so controlling. It was actually really triggering and awful. He basically, like, but bringing it back to the mom, like, the mom was really controlling and weirdo. Like, she literally changed Gabby's address back to her parents' house so she wouldn't get mail at their house.
I mean, at the same time, though, they're two, what, at this point, like, probably 20-year-olds.
Yeah, they're 20.
Right? Like, who knows if you're helping out? She's probably living there for free. Like, at some point, you're probably, tired of it. Like, I can, like, get that. Not that I think that she should have been mean, or, like, I think changing the address back is weird. Especially with, like, not having told Gabby that. So, like, so the mother says, oh, like, we just got, you know, notification that your address changed. Like, are you moving back to Long Island? And Gabby's like, oh, no, that must have been Brian's mom. I would not stay thousands away from my friends and family to be with this man living with his parents who hate me.
Right, who you're not wanted. And, like, back to Brian being a controlling freak, it's like, I wrote in one of my notes that he literally stole her wallet so she couldn't go out with her friend. Like, she basically she realized her wallet wasn't with her. She had to go back to the house. And then Brian was, like, basically fessed up that he stole the wallet. It's just like, ugh.
Well, that's the thing, is I feel like when this first story, like, aired and it went very viral in the beginning, like, especially what you see from social media, you're like, oh my god, they were this happy couple, look at all these, like, social media posts and this vlog. And then when you see this documentary and they start to release text messages, you can already see how broken it is before the trip ever happened.
Oh yeah, definitely. I mean, in like, on the outside they were, like, doing good. They got technically engaged. No ring.
Okay, can we talk about that?
Yeah.
Who gets engaged without a ring?
I mean, I'm sure there's a lot of people that get engaged without
Not
a ring.
like that.
Well, maybe
I feel like it was a control thing. It wasn't like they've been together forever and whatever. No, I feel like
he got her a promise ring.
Exactly.
Yeah.
You can get some sort of ring. It does not have to be the ring. You're going to be like this massive rock that you're going to flaunt to the world, but you would have something.
Yeah.
I feel like, again, like, it's like you see they start showing all these, like, broken text messages about, like, Gabby, like, meeting, like, friends and, like, hanging out after work. And then he's like, oh, proposal.
Right. And, like, the way that she explains it, like, okay, we kind of talked about this offline about how, like, kind of annoying Gabby is. I mean, she's just not my cup of tea. But, like, she's, like, sitting there and she said, oh, a dragonfly landed on my ring finger when he was proposing to me and I knew it was supposed to be, and ugh.
I don't want to, like, jump too much ahead before we get to this, but social media is such a trick, and I feel like they both did it. The way they wrote about each other on social media was almost like they were, like, poets. Like, this was like Shakespeare. Right. Every post. But then, like, then they show their text messages about what was really going on that day. And it's not that at all.
Right. Yeah, I mean, definitely, you put it on. You put it on for even us. Like, when you post something, you're not posting a bad day. You're posting when you went out with your friends. You're posting... you know, your niece's birthday, you know, those are the happy things that you post. You don't post technically terrible things that are going
agreed.
on.
And I feel like sometimes if you're in a toxic relationship and you see that, like, post where you're like, oh, like, maybe you miss that person, or, you know, you're like, oh, like, I love this person, that's why I post this, and then you think about, like, what that full day was. It was not happy the full day.
Right.
You maybe had a moment.
And, like, Gabby's mom found out on social media that she was engaged.
But this is what I'm saying. That's weird. Because she seems like the way the parents make it seem like she is obviously 22. I get she's a free spirit, but it seems like she's close to their family. And then the more they explain things, you're like, where are you? Where are you guys close? Like, you decided you were going to move to Florida and move the next day. Right? You weren't telling me you were dating this kid. You were telling me you're his friend, and then all of a sudden it's your boyfriend. Right. Then I find out from social media that you guys are engaged. Like, this seems very distant, as much as they make it seem like it was a very close-knit family. Right. To me, personally.
Yeah. And why didn't she tell her mom that? Like, why didn't she... Like, I just feel like she didn't want to hear it. Like, when you're in the moment, you don't want to hear other people's perspective of, like, okay, you're kind of young. You know, you want to live your life before you get, you know.
At the same time, though, we know that Gabby's mom had Gabby young.
Oh, that's
and
true.
Then they were married, too.
Right.
So it's like, I do feel like she seems to be very supporting whatever she wants to do. But it doesn't seem like it's so much of an open relationship where she's, like, telling her all this information about her life and, like, including her in it.
Right.
It's almost like it wasn't bad, but it wasn't good.
Right. I agree. Yeah. So basically, they did push back the wedding and baby plans because she wanted to travel.
AKA there was no wedding or baby plans, in my opinion, but okay.
Or maybe Brian wanted a wedding and baby plans, and the traveling was more Gabby. That's what it feels like. The more you, like, unpack this, it's like he was not on board with this. He just wanted to keep her forever. So they ended up buying a 2012 Ford Transit Connect van, and Brian worked on it, making it into, like, a little...
like a livable van.
Yeah.
Okay, but also
Trailer.
I need to know how much Taco Bell pays in Florida. Because this girl was working at Taco Bell, saved all her money to buy this van. It was Gabby's van. Redo the van. And have enough money to quit your job to go travel across the country for 4 months. How much is Taco Bell paying? I'll leave right now.
Well, they weren't paying rent, I'm assuming.
Sure, I don't think they were.
Okay. And, I mean, Brian Landry, whatever. I keep saying laundry.
That's all right. His name doesn't need. He's unimportant enough. Correct.
Brian's parents look like they come from money.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't know. It's just, I'm sure they figured out a way to support that. Yeah. So back to controlling. Brian didn't like her working at Taco Bell. Even Brian called Gabby's mom about how much he didn't like her working and that she was hanging out with bad people. And That's like horrible. Like now you're involving my parents because you're upset about what I do. Like it's just.
But you know what that is though? Like in Gabby mom's and from the beginning, Gabby's mom's like, you know, we didn't see any like red flags with him. He was very nice, respectful, quiet, but socially awkward.
Yeah.
So then think about it. Not only did she just up and leave her friends and family to like go to this new, like go to Florida, he did too. And like it seems like she could get a job and like make other friends where maybe he couldn't.
Nah,
like
true.
He definitely seems kind of like a weirdo. So if he's being isolated and the only person like he really has is Gabby, and then Gabby's making other friends, he's gonna just be so negative against them,
right?
And try to like reel her back in,
right? Yeah, like he's definitely team Gabby and Brian forever.
Yeah, but I also feel like maybe he was just lonely. Like obviously he doesn't seem like he has anybody,
right?
So it's like the only person you have is this person. You're gonna just be hyper obsessed with them,
right? The Florida friend, like that she would hang out with, she believes that they went on this trip because Brian wanted to isolate her. Like Brian agreed to do this because to get her away from people. Like it would just be him and her.
Right. But that could also be not so much like killer vibes or like controlling vibes, because again, she might be the only person he has. So it's like she has these big dreams and these plans and this is what she wants to do. Like she knew she wanted to do that. That's why they bought the van.
Right.
He could have been like, okay, like I'm going to support you because I want to be with you. You're the only person I have anyways. And obviously who knows what he was doing.
Right.
For work and like a social life. Like it's a lot easier to leave when you don't have anything.
Right.
So maybe it's not what he wanted to be like on this blog, but why not?
Right. And like when you look at the footage that she takes,
Jesse's being mean.
I'm not being mean. I mean, I'm just, you know, she admits it that she's like OCD and she wants things to be, she's a perfectionist, but like she'd do like a take and like look at him and be like, we have to do it again. Yeah. And like, I mean, if your heart's not in it, like if this is like your partner wants to do this and you know, you have to, even just retaking this. I mean, we retake the last episode once. That was a lot.
Yeah. And I do feel like when you're in a van with somebody, like if you live with somebody, they can get on your nerves. So now think about being in a really tiny van.
Yep. You're on
for
top of each other.
30 days and like losing service. And the only thing you have going in this blog, especially if you said if you're not really like invested in it, I could see someone getting on your nerves.
Yeah, for sure. Not to kill someone. Right, but like I can understand like this isn't working.
Right, and I feel like so when this story like first broke and it went like viral at the time, I feel like everybody was on their assumption like, oh, he just snapped. Like, oh, like something happened, he snapped. But then I feel like when this documentary came out, it kind of shows like the breakdown, like we talked about, like it was kind of broken before they left.
Right.
And then you see all like them redoing the shots and the takes and just kind of like starting to get on each other's nerves. And then like you kind of just watch it like spiral down.
Right. Right.
Way more than I feel like what we knew at the time when the case happened.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I definitely, you can see like his frustration and her frustration with the, like, how she's like, you know, this is what I want to do, and he didn't want to do it. So a part of that episode, actually the first part of the episode, it opens up on August 12th, I believe. Was it? Yeah, August 12th. And it was police footage because the police got a call that people witnessed a man hitting a woman in a white van. So they ended up tracking down the van. This was in Utah. And the police have this footage of them interviewing Gabby, who's clearly upset. She had some bruising around her face. She was saying that, you know, I have OCD and I was being really mean and I was, you know, upset about cleaning and, you know, she basically said that Brian locked her out of the van and that's why she was upset. And the police were like, you know, do you feel safe? and they were interviewing her. Unfortunately, Brian was also working with the police. He wasn't like he was resisting or anything. He was basically saying that she was really upset and he was trying to calm her down, and she kind of vouched for that. But it was so sad. Like, literally, there's a part in it where she's like, can I get my phone so I can call my mom? And I was just like, oh, and I think the mom was called, but the mom didn't know half that. They didn't know that why the police were called to that. She did not know. According to that documentary, she did not know that the police stopped them because there was an incident that had happened of a man hitting a girl. So, she only knew what Gabby told her, which was, the police saw that they were fighting and they intervened.
Right. So I feel like when you say he was like cooperating with police, in my opinion, I feel like he was manipulating the police.
Oh, yeah.
Like, yes, he is saying, oh, she was like obviously upset and whatever, but Gabby's admitting to hitting him. Gabby's like, I'm sorry. Like, I have OCD, and she's so worked up, and she tells him exactly what she did, right? But Brian never admits to hitting her, which we already know from the first police call.
Right.
He's just kept saying, oh, I was just trying to calm her down. He probably, I think, admits to, like, locking her out of the car or whatever. But, like, Gabby's over here saying the truth, and he's not. So then the police's assumption, or kind of, like, conclusion from this whole incident is that she's the aggressor. Because she's admitting to being the aggressor. But he's not admitting to be any type of aggressor.
Right.
So then the police end up saying, which I do feel like part of me is like, it's nice that nobody got arrested that day. But obviously then it leads to like how bad this is. So like, was it nice? No. But they end up bringing Brian to a hotel for the night for like a domestic violence, like whatever, victims hotel. And they leave Gabby to her van for the night.
Yeah. Not ideal.
Well, and again, I hate to say because she's like a woman, but like she's a 22-year-old girl. Why would she be the one left in the van?
Right.
But again, it's because she's openly admitting to saying, yeah, I hit him. But
Right.
he hit her too. And like, they're not saying, and the police say to her, you look like you have some bruising under your eye. And she's like denying, oh, no, nothing. Like whatever. She's not saying, oh yeah, because he hit me.
Right. Yeah. It's definitely, it's just sad. It's wicked sad. That whole incident. And I do think I got the dates wrong. So I said that she went missing on August.
I was going to say that.
2nd. It looks like she was missing August 27th.
Right. So I was like, wait a second. Yeah. So at this point, they're already in the van together for like almost 2 months.
Right.
Right. But again, I think also just when you said like the police got a tip, but that's not how they found the van.
Mm.
Because I feel like at that point, they would have went into the van saying, okay, somebody said they saw a man hit a woman.
Mm-hmm.
That's not what they said. They were driving erratically.
Oh.
And then they pull him over. And then I think it's not until afterwards that they link the two calls.
I see. Okay.
Yeah. So that's why I feel like they don't know like that I don't think they put together that someone had called saying, we saw a man slapping a girl.
Right.
They were just like, you guys are driving erratically. What's going on? She's like, oh, I hit him. Sorry, we're having a really bad day. And then that's why they kind of put it all on Gabby. But people are upset about how the police responded. Mm-hmm. Because when you do look back, like you said, it is sad that she's bawling her eyes out.
Yep.
She's like, can I call my mom? Like, she's so upset. And like, but in the way she's explaining things, she's saying, I hit him.
Right.
Right? Like, she's admitting to everything. Like, yes, I hit him. I'm sorry, this and this. And he's not saying anything.
Right.
Which I feel like makes him a narcissist.
Yeah. I mean, he knows that she's going to cover for him. You know,
right. Well, how sad is that?
And it's sad because like you'll see all these text messages and she's basically really like, oh, he I don't deserve him, you know, I'm not good, he's great, he's a good guy, like all the things that an abusive person who's been gaslighted, you know, about how to be in this relationship. It's just really, really terrible. So from there, the family aren't hearing from Gabby. I know they haven't heard from her. They're getting worried. They're calling Brian's parents, who basically are not answering. They're leaving them on red. And
so me and Jessie differ here, okay? Because Jessie's a mom.
So
for me, immediately when the family is not answering, I'm like on defense. And what Jessie was saying is, if it was your own kid, you probably wouldn't respond either. But I do think it's crazy because I feel like the mother's like, hey, I haven't heard from the kids. Like, have you heard anything? Brian's parents say nothing.
Right.
Then she texts again, like, hey, like, just checking in again because you clearly didn't write back to my text. And then she's blocked.
Right. And I don't know if I wouldn't say anything.
I'm like, something?
I mean, I don't know. I'm not really sure of how what I would do in that situation. However, it's messed up. Like, the parents are clearly upset. So they end up calling, the other thing is they're calling all these states of where they are doing this trip.
Right.
And basically law enforcement says they really can't help because she's not a resident of that state. So she had to call a detective in New York who had to call a detective in Florida to have them talk to the family who weren't cooperating. They basically said that, yes, Brian is here. No, he's not going to talk to you, and we're not talking to you. You can talk to our lawyer.
That just screams guilty to me.
I mean, it does. It does. It
Guilty.
just seems like you guys know something that nobody else knows.
Right. And that's the thing is, like, for me, it's like, okay, I'm not a mom, but I can understand as a parent why you're not going to say, okay, my son's here. Yeah, like, like, whatever. This is what he did, right? But at the same token, Gabby moved down to Florida in 2019. So she has been with this family, living with this family for 2 years.
Right.
If my kid was living, like, I trust you enough that my kid is living with you, I think out of common courtesy, you might write back. Now, again, she wasn't going to say, yeah, he's home, she's not here, but, I mean, lie. But I feel like you not saying anything and then blocking her,
right,
it just automatically screamed like something bad happened.
Right. Which I think they knew. We'll get into that. But, yeah. So the police are there at the Landry's house, and they notice that the van's there. The van is registered to Gabby. So that's technically Gabby's property. They're not participating in this investigation. They're telling him to call the lawyer. He's like, what lawyer is going to talk to me at 11 o'clock at night? And they really were persistent on that. So they took the van. And then they began this search. The dad came to Florida. They were spreading the word about trying to find Gabby. They really had to rely on her cell phone and like the pinging satellites to kind of find out where her cell phone was.
Right.
Because obviously Brian's not helping. And then they were asking people who might have been camping if they had footage. And basically, they end up finding this couple that had the van in the background of their vlog.
It's so amazing to me how the public solved this case.
Yeah, pretty much.
Because without them, they would not have had half of the information they had.
Yeah.
Which is amazing. Like, it went viral. People were, like, upset about it. People were, posting TikTok, everything. Like, where is Gabby Petito? Oh, like, lining up dates.
Right.
Checking their footage.
Right.
Figuring out, finding the van in the background. Finding them. Like, it was just amazing.
Yeah, for sure. Like, it had a lot of publicity. And we'll talk more on this.
Yes.
But, so basically they found the van. They narrowed down the search area, and that was in Wyoming in that national park. And they had people on horsebacks, and they had drones, and they ended up finding a body. And Gabby's body was found, and meanwhile, Brian goes missing.
Which is, like, such a, like, spin on the case, because it becomes so much on, like, let's find Gabby, and then when Brian goes missing, it's almost like just, like, the story switches to, like, about Brian, which I feel like it wasn't about him.
Right. It's like, where's Brian?
But they were able to figure out, like, okay, when was her cell phone last used? Like, they basically got, like, her social media post, when her last post was, to try to, like, really narrow it down. Like you said, like, pinging her location.
But what was crazy, I didn't write this down, but maybe you remember, he was using her cell phone.
That is, like, also why, like, I just can't with this kid, because, like, regardless, like, I think being in a van for 60 days with somebody, they can get on your nerves. You could obviously tell that things were going left just with, like, the text messages. And, like, Gabby was texting her mom saying, like, you know, I could make more money as a solo van woman blogger. Like, so you could tell, like, it was already starting to break down in the relationship. And, like, you could say, like, okay, at that point, like, it's not right, but he snapped, right? But then when you think about the process of, like his mental, like, process after that, that's where I'm like, no, this kid did not snap. I feel like it was planned. Because, so, he kills her, obviously. Then he ends up, like getting hitchhiking and, like, getting back to, like, the van, or getting back to, like, her phone, right? So he basically sets him up with himself up with an alibi. So, like, he must have killed her and then went on a hike.
Right.
Then starts texting her, like, oh, honey, like, I'm on my way back, whatever. And then he's getting these rides to, like, get back to the campsite. Then when he gets back to the campsite, he's texting himself. So they can prove that both phones are in the same exact location, and the text messages are, like, one after the other.
Right.
So, like, it's like he's texting himself off her phone and then just going back and forth.
Right.
And then obviously starts a plan of, like, then he calls, then he calls his parents.
Right.
This is where people are debating if the parents knew. And, like, he calls his parents, which he ends up having a half-hour-long conversation. And then immediately, the parents end up sending $25,000 to an attorney in Wyoming.
Oh, yeah.
So they knew.
Of course.
And then he plots his way to, like, get back home.
Right.
But that kind of goes back to what you were also saying about the van, like, him driving the van back and the van being in Gabby's name. What was your plan?
Oh. It's just not good.
I just feel like maybe you
Brian.
shouldn't have came back with the van. You pulling up to your house in Florida with a van without the girl you left on the trip with.
Right.
Just screams red flags to everybody.
Right. Where did you leave her?
Right.
Right.
Wait, how did you get back here and she's not back here?
And it's her car.
How do you have this van, which means that she has no form of transportation?
Right. Yeah, that's insane.
If that doesn't scream guilty, that's the thing. Is I almost feel like he had no real plan. Like, the parents had no real plan, he had no real plan. You kill her, you then try to set yourself on an alibi, you come back with the van. You tell your parents about it, they send $25,000 to this attorney, then they just, like, end up blocking Gabby's parents, like it was all gonna go away.
Right.
It wasn't gonna go away.
Right.
You know?
No, it's interesting. I definitely thought, like, they definitely knew what was going on, for sure. And
they've still never been charged to this day.
Which is insane. It's insane. Because then they find Brian. They find his remains. Mind you, there was a hurricane, I think, and there was flooding in that park where his remains are found, alligators, all kinds of stuff that happened. So they end up finding his skeletal remains with a self-inflicted gunshot wound. So he killed himself. And I believe they found a note that said that he...
So they found a backpack, and the backpack had letters to his family.
Yeah.
But also had a quote-unquote confession letter, which in the letter, he basically said she had fell and it was a mercy kill.
Yikes.
Which I feel like nowadays, right, in modern technology, they're clearly going to see that what she died of.
Right.
They're going to know you're lying. So again, he's still trying to lie. So at that point for me, if you were going to kill yourself, why couldn't you have told the truth?
Right.
Like he says in the letter, I'm gonna do this because I can't stand to live another day without her. When realistically, no, the cops were like narrowing down on you because there was absolutely no way you were gonna get away with this. You came back in the van. They can prove that you were texting each other on that. They know that you called your parents sent the money. Like, you're not being cooperative. He knew he was going to jail.
And back up, the parents found his remains.
Which I think is also weird. But that's why so many people, like, there's, like, a conspiracy theory that, like, Brian's living in, like, Mexico. Yeah. Like, he's not really. But so the park that he was found, so his parents say that he went camping. They report him missing 4 days after he supposedly left the house. Mm-hmm. But they said that's normal for him. Like, it was normal for him to go camping. And then then the police obviously are out trying to find him. But again, flooding, like Jesse said, there's alligators. Like, it was just not good. So they end up closing the park to the public because it was so much flooding and, like, basically a dangerous situation. The day they open this park back up, which happens to be, like, a month later.
Yeah, October or something.
The parents leave at 7:30 in the morning and somehow exactly find him at 8:30.
Interesting.
They did say that was his favorite spot to go.
Probably, there's a lot of things that he could have done right. Including not killing anyone.
I mean, from the beginning, don't kill your girlfriend. Clearly. But I also feel like I think he panicked, and I think the parents also panicked, and they just, like, didn't think it through. Like, you could have sent that $25,000 to an attorney, had a conversation, right? This attorney would probably say, cooperate with the police.
You're right.
Don't say anything, but, like, you have to at least talk to them.
Why didn't the lawyer tell them that?
Exactly.
Like, it was like...
And obviously, that means now that they lost, like, obviously the Landrys also lost their kid.
Right.
But not only did, like, this all go on, they also say, so Brian gets back, right? And they still haven't found Gabby, and the family goes on, like, a family camping trip. That's so weird. If you are under, like, you know your son's under some sort of investigation, they're on a manhunt trying to find his girlfriend that he just left on the trip with and came back without her, you would think that you would just be doing things smarter, and I feel like they didn't.
No. It's weird. I don't know how many times I can say that they're weird, but...
Yeah, the whole situation. And then, wait, hold up. We didn't even talk about this. The mother wrote a letter to him.
I was just about to say.
Which the police found, called Burn After Reading.
Why did he burn it?
Yeah, why did he not burn? Again, so I think I can agree when I hear you talk about Jess, like, it's your kid, like, you're not gonna maybe snitch on your kid.
But there's a line
but
there.
Then when you read, like, they read her letter and it's like, I would get a shovel and bury a body for you. Like, it was just, like, very dark. And I'm like, okay, yeah, that's weird.
And he ends up, like, killing himself. You know, like, it's... Instead of, like, facing the music, going to jail for whatever you did, you're literally just went and offed yourself. Like,
yeah,
they're giving no one closure.
I almost feel like they were, like, hoping it was going to turn out like a Casey Anthony story. Because Casey Anthony's from Florida. And basically, right, she lies to the police, she avoids the police, and, like, drags them on this whole manhunt trying to find her kid, and then at the end of it all gets found not guilty.
Don't get me started on Casey
Anthony. That will be another episode. 12 years later, we will talk about it.
That will be like a 3-part series because there's just so much on that.
But I think they thought, like, let me just, like, not cooperate, and, like, at some point maybe, not that it would go away.
There might not be enough evidence.
Right.
Exactly.
Right. And then instead, it turned into then Brian going to kill himself because I feel like he truly knew.
Right.
They were gonna figure it out.
Mm-hmm. For sure.
And he has social media. So he obviously saw probably everybody, where's Gabby? They were, like the public was on his lawn harassing them every day. Yeah. They were harassing his family. So, you know, I feel like he just saw the writing on the wall and was too much of a coward to, like, admit what he did and went and killed himself. And also then still lied about it.
Right.
Lied about what happened.
Right.
I hate him. I hate the Landry family too. I don't care.
Yeah, they're not great. I'm not gonna.
I want everyone, if you have a kid that wants to go live with another person's family, just know, as much as you think you like them, they will never have your back.
Right.
They're going to choose their kid over your kid every time.
This is true. So going back to like how much coverage this case had, you know, first of all, the Petito family, both Petito families, so the mom and the father, the two families, they actually they're working with law enforcement on how to find, like they added this questionnaire that police can ask a victim of abuse, and basically giving that person an out, you know, and really kind of digging deep on a domestic violence call. Like if they get called to it, there are some things that you need to pick up on that you could clearly see in the video. You know, so they did pass some laws. I can't remember exactly what it is, but it's a questionnaire that the police are now using. Then
that's amazing.
On top of that, there was also some backlash on how much coverage that this case got, and this missing person, because she was a white female, pretty little blonde, and basically people were searching for her, where there's people of color that go missing and they don't get as much coverage. Mm-hmm. So the Petito family actually talked about that, and they're raising awareness of that, of just making sure that no matter what color you are, you know, a missing person's a missing person.
Yep.
I mean, there are cases like the Naziah Harris case that not a lot of people know of.
Right.
You know, and that's crazy to me.
I feel like that's crazy how that just went viral, like, I feel like more recently when she had already been missing for an entire year.
On TikTok, though. I've not seen it on
anything else.
Like, no one's talking about it. I haven't seen any podcast, YouTube. I haven't seen anything in the news about it. It's literally TikTok, which is insane to me. But again, it's kind of raising that awareness of a missing person's a missing person. That's a human life.
Right.
No matter what they are, what color you are. And I think that it's important that every case gets that much attention.
Right.
So I think they're doing a really good thing. And it does seem like that's giving the family some closure and a reason for Gabby's death.
Yeah, I do like in like the documentary, Gabby's dad says, you know, everyone was saying basically, obviously, like that she got all this attention because she's this white and she's this young blonde, and he was like, at first I was mad.
Yeah.
And then he's like, then I did my research. And it's like, you know what, if that's like what you have to do to like have a better understanding of the world, like I'm actually proud of him for saying that.
Mm-hmm.
You know, but again, I don't think every case can go viral.
No.
Right? Like, but without the public's help, I don't know if they would have solved this as quick or...
Oh, they relied on the public's help.
They did. Like, I think they had a lot of evidence with, like, her phone and, like, area. But, like, they were really able to narrow down, like, time frame because of the public.
Right.
Because of this person saying, I picked up Ryan hitchhiking on this day. Gabby's van is in the back of my video on this day. Like, they were really able to, like, narrow down a lot because of the public's help.
Right.
But also, I think crimes that go across multiple states are a lot harder to solve.
Yeah.
Right? Like, if there's a murder in Boston, like, you'll probably be able to more easily solve that because you have one police department working on it. This case had New York. This case had Florida, Wyoming. They didn't even know. Right. Utah.
Yeah. Yep.
Like, they were kind of all over the place.
Right. Yeah, because it was a road trip. You know, it's insane. Well, that was 45 minutes.
Yeah, and I think at the end of this, if anybody wants to take anything from this podcast, it's just that what you see on social media may not be true. And a lot of times I feel like it's not.
Mm-hmm.
Right? I feel like social media can be such a positive thing, like we said, about being a story able to go viral and able to be solved, and that's amazing, but it also has a very dark side of, like, tricking you to believe things that, like, are not true.
Right. That this girl's in a happy, healthy relationship.
Right.
You know, she was hiding that for sure for everybody.
It's just sad that lives were taken when they were so young.
Yeah.
22, like now, like when I first heard this story, it was like I knew she was obviously young, but now like looking back on it, me at 33 and I think she was 22, like it breaks my heart. It's like, how sad is that? She was so young. Honestly, I'm like, I admire her because at 22, I wasn't saving my money, getting a van, and like traveling the world and like being the person I wanted to be.
Yeah.
And I think that's amazing of her. And I'm glad that the family is like continuing to like keep her memory alive and to do positive things about domestic violence and, travel and do all these things that I feel like she would want.
Yeah. For sure.
Yeah.
Go, Gabby. Well, this is our second podcast. I think we did pretty good.
That's right. And remember, if you have a show, let us know.
Actually, we did get a comment on our last video, and they recommended Gypsy Rose.
Ooh.
That's a good one.
That's a super good one.
It is a good one. So we'll definitely keep that in mind. Well, I think we'll end it here.
All right. Until next time, make sure you like and subscribe.
Like and subscribe. Stay safe.
Be well.
Blessed be the fruit.